Live. All right. I'm gonna double check. This is the first stream I've done for real, I guess, on my personal channels. And so I'm largely here today to work out some of these kinks, um, just so I can, you know, that this can move a little bit smoother in the future. So let's on my personal channels. I'm checking the three outlets that I'm sending this to. So I've got Twitter or X, YouTube, and Twitch. Um, and let's see here. So I see I, I see some things, not all the things. Um, okay. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Having it looks like I'm having some issues here. Um, actually, okay, let me get here. We do it live, right? Doing a test. Actually, okay, let me get here. All right. So one thing I've confirmed here is that X seems to be working, which is fantastic. Kind of doing this off to the side, and I have an issue with both YouTube. Oh no, YouTube. Hey, YouTube folks, it's looking good potentially. Here is that X seems to be working. Great, and let's give Twitch a refresh and see if we're all right. I've got some potential Twitch issues, but we can debug those next time. Let's see here. Okay. Well, that is mostly the my focus for today. Anyways, my name is Sean C. Davis. I've been producing content and videos, blog posts, etc., around web development for way too long, way too long. And I've done a number of podcasts and other live shows over the years. But recently, for me, my role has shifted. It's shifted and then shifted again, and every day is a really new and mostly really exciting adventure over at Netlify. And we're in this we're in this time right now where it's like you turn around and everything feels different. There's a new AI model. There's a new SaaS app somebody just spun up in 15 minutes ago. And so a lot of what I'm really trying to do and understand in my role at Netlify is, you know, with this evolution of, or maybe I should say more like an introduction of AI tools into building web applications, that we've opened this door to an order of magnitude more developers than we've had in the past. And these folks are working in very different ways than, I would say, we could say traditional developers, let's just say JavaScript developers, or me, web developers in the past. And and I think there's a lot that we really don't know. And so what I really am interested in doing is kind of exploring some of those paths and trying to learn a little bit more about what are folks trying to build, how are they building. And for me, I think that's, there's an aspect of that which is getting out there and chatting with people, but there's another aspect of that which is doing the work, just getting my hands dirty, and in a very different way than I've gotten hands dirty in the past. Way less writing code and more just, here's an idea, let's bring it to life. And honestly, that's what has me so excited, is I've got this long list of ideas, and it keeps growing. And that's always been the case throughout my career. But you know, 10 or even 3 4 years, shoot, maybe even like a year or two ago, it really required picking one of those things and then going after it for, I mean, at least a week to really bring it to life. And now I have I've been just like churning out examples and building more pre or yeah, more like pre-recorded videos with a little bit more polish. And just to like to be a little bit smoother. But what I found is that the building process is so much fast. It's just so much faster. Like we're working toward a launch at Netlify, and I've recorded some videos with a feature that we'll start to push a little bit more next week. And in the past, I thought about, okay, well, how do we build, to showcase this feature? And be like, okay, well, let's build this like bite-sized portion of some starter application, and then we'll, you know, hope people dream it up, dream all the possibilities up and bring into their applications. Well, now, and what I've done for one of these videos is I had a full blog application with content that was goofy but felt real. And it's like, okay, well that works, but would it work in, that works in project A, but would it work in project B and C? And so I took that content and then ported it over to different frameworks and took the same approach and built the same feature in those other projects. And like that would be weeks and weeks of work. And it was like about a day. So I think there's just like so much that can be accomplished in an hour. And so that's really what I want to do. And I'm not totally sure what this schedule is going to look like. But and I don't, I don't really know if it's going to be like topics that span multiple weeks or whatever that may be. I could see that happening. There are a few ideas that I know, hey, I'm not going to get these done in an hour. Maybe we'll have an MVP in an hour, and then maybe I'll tinker off screen and come back on. But my goal right now is in fact, I published this just a few minutes ago here. I said that what I really want to do is just get on about once a week and build something. And if folks are live and want to interact, I think that's great. If you want to feed me ideas, I'm Sean C. Davis 29 on X, and I would love to just talk about like I can be here to answer questions about Netlify, to be here to answer questions about web development, about working with coding agents, whatever it may be, or throw ideas my way, and we can build those things out together. So this can really turn into anything. I could see, I've talked to some folks. In fact, I need to give a big shout out to Nick Taylor. I caught Nick at GitHub Universe at the end of October, and I feel like he was the one who really kind of pushed me over the edge, gave me a few tips, and I still spent a little bit of time thinking and putting some pieces together. Too much time. But here we are today, and so that's it. It's like we just got to start somewhere and then see what this thing becomes. But I'm really excited to dig in and to actually build something. In fact, I'm not going to do it today because this was largely troubleshooting. And now that I see, I don't know if anybody is actually on Twitch because I'm getting just like weird errors on my side. So I've got to look back and see if anything happened and then maybe run another test over there. But I'm not optimizing for live audience. I would love some chatter. I'm really just right now, my job is to build and to learn and to do both of those things as quickly as possible. And I think that and as kind of like the output of that, to then educate other folks in the community to help them be successful as well. And I can do that here by myself in my home. which is what I am doing. But I think, well, why not just do this out in the wild as well? And I know it's not a new concept or anything, but I do think that the way people are building applications today is a new sort of concept, and it is very frequently evolving, and we're learning new things almost daily about ways to optimize this workflow. So we'll get in there, and we'll see what happens. But I don't want to leave you with you know nothing. So one of the well, first, what I want to do is I want to give a shout out to this show I was on yesterday, and this is Certified Fresh Events, and it was this goodbye show. So I've been involved with this community for I think the better part of 4 years, and yesterday Brian organized kind of a little farewell. So all the content will stay up, but this community is shutting down, and one of the conversations we had in this show yesterday was that it just feels like there's sort of we're seeing more communities kind of shut down, and things feel a little bit darker or heavier today, and yeah, I feel that too. But I was thinking while we were recording, I was thinking, I'm ready to lift off on this new streaming adventure. So and doing it for a different reason or whatever. But this show, well, not just this show, but this community and that Brian Rinaldi led was really like my gateway to getting a lot more comfortable doing this sort of thing. Um, and I've hosted some virtual conferences and led a few podcasts, but a little bit more polished. So, anyways, just wanted to give a call out there. And so, like I said, I don't want to do nothing here, kind of just rambling. But something that I want to leave folks with today, if we'll call this a mildly successful test, is that so over the course of the last, this goes back, what is it? It's almost 2026. So it was sometime in, I think, 2011, maybe 2012, that I published my first blog post. And my posts have moved over the web, like different domains and different focuses. And let me actually pull this up here, seandavis.com. And my site has changed a lot over the years. In fact, when I first started writing blog posts, they weren't on this site. It was in fact, I think what I called it was, I know what I called it. It was the Polymath Lab, thepolymathlab.com. Because at that time, I have a lot of different interests today. That's always been the case. And I had a coworker. I was actually working. I wasn't in web development yet. I was working for a construction company, and there was someone there who was a pretty proficient blogger, and I was talking about getting started and all these ideas of the things I was learning, because we were doing a lot of tinkering with things like video and asset management and stuff like that, and I wanted to share what we were doing and what I was learning along the way. And she said, it's in a similar sentiment, just do it, just put the stuff out there. And so I've started doing that, and then this site has taken many forms over the years. And I don't know. I don't know that I've actually published it. I think I've got this might. Yeah, here it is. Okay. So this post here, my blogging history, and it takes us back to 2011. And so I had this kind of like, like anybody's career, a bit of a roller coaster ride, and lots of changes, lots of like really compressed times where I was developing a lot of content, and then times where I would go a year or more and publish nothing for whatever reason, lots of reasons, and I kind of hinted at some of these in here. But what I've kind of had a couple like starts and stops. I set a lull in activity from 23 to 25. I've kind of like I have started and stopped. In fact, I started earlier this calendar year and then kind of fizzled out again. And what I've really been trying to do is find this workflow for the best way to say it, I think, is probably a voice-driven blog workflow. Well, let me add one key word there, an authentic voice-driven blog workflow, because and I've been tinkering with this for more than a year. And what I want to do here's my dream. I and maybe this is like a short-sighted dream, and there should be something much bigger. But what I can do, what I want to do, is basically take a walk around my neighborhood, be kind of the crazy person in my neighborhood, and talk into my phone, right, about just some topic like this, and then I've been using this app. Well, no, let me stop. I'm not gonna go over there yet. I'll come back to that. Um, so then I have this transcription, and what I would love to have happen is I think it's going to depend on the topic, but essentially as automated as possible. But I think there's this point in the middle where we put me as human to interject and say, okay, I talked for 20, 30 minutes. What was that about? And now let's turn it into a blog post. But it needs to be a blog post with my voice and my tone. And the thing is, I over here, I have 14 to 15 years of content of my voice and my tone and things that I did very manually. And about a year ago or so, I started kind of tinkering with what that process would look like. I got really busy at work, and so I wasn't able to really like refine that, but I just didn't have the right outlet where it wasn't helping me, right? It was like I could go record that note, have that transcript, and then the generated content was just like total garbage. And so I was rewriting the whole thing, and it's not altogether bad. It's just that it wasn't really an improvement. And so then I took another iteration on that, and instead of having AI write it for me, because this was the thing, is like I don't want it to go out into the world sounding like AI. I want it to be Sean. And for now, and I think it's totally okay, but I think I've got to touch it in some way. And that probably should always be the case. So, and my opinion on that might change, but for now, that's what I'm saying. Um, and so I kind of shifted to have these agents just give me sort of like a loose outline, and then I would write from there, and that improved things a little bit. Well, we recently launched agent runners at Netlify, and what they do, if you haven't seen them, they're an embedded feature in the Netlify platform that lets you choose the coding agent that you want to work with. It has the context for your site, and it's totally asynchronous. So I'm working towards something that is much more automated, but what I want to share today is where I am. And so what I've got is this is the way it works. So first, what I'll do is this is the app I use, and it's called Voice Notes. I'm guessing there are lots more out there now. In fact, with tools, what's that tool? I came across the other day. I can't think of it at the moment, but I mean, essentially, like all sorts of tools out there to be able to work with audio in different ways. And honestly, I think we're going to get to a point where it's going to be fairly trivial to recreate something like this. In fact, that would kind of be a fun little stream. But I got in touch with the folks that were developing this early on, paid for like a lifetime thing, and so it's sort of a comfort thing. But I really like it. You know, if you haven't found your go-to voice note taking app, check this one out. And yeah, that's something we can tinker with on the stream. So I record there, and then I get this full transcript. And then what I had been doing, which I want to show you this because I do think that it's an interesting evolution. So I love Raycast AI. I love Raycast in general, but I also love Raycast AI. You can change your model. You can have you have presets, so you've got different types of agents working for you. You can install MCP servers, all of those things. And so how does it work? What's my short code? Yeah, oh, no, not that one. Right. Okay, so when I start a new chat, I can say, here's my personal audio transcript, and basically it's designed to, it gets the context so that it knows that I'm going to paste this like super raw, nasty audio transcript in there, and I'm going to give it this user prompt to do something with that. So I've tried that. I didn't get too far because the context that I'm missing, again, is my voice and tone. But now here's the thing. And so I started poking with Cursor and Claude locally and started to see a little bit more success. And because those tools they have my history. They're being run within the context of my repository, and all my content is stored as markdown files in my repository. And so I could say, you know, here's the context, here's how it works, source it from there. And so it just so happens that Netlify's agent runners will work in this way too. So what I can do now is, you know, say write me a new blog post and then drop my audio transcript in here. But there's some I don't want to call it magic, but configuration, let's say, that I've had to add behind the scenes to get this working. And also, it's not going to be as simple as this every time. A lot of times I'm like totally like in the stream, I'm totally rambling. And so it's like, okay, I talked about these things. I probably leave that walking session and thinking like, oh, I've got 3 different blog posts that are baked in here. And so I might say like, focus on this one specific topic and give me a draft of a blog post. And so I wanted to show you how this works today. And okay, so this is my repository here, and I've got this claude.md file, and all it does is, because today I'm mostly using Claude, but I had migrated there from Cursor. So I say refer to Cursor rules blog post author for your guidelines and do all of the work in the www directory. And this file has gone through many iterations. And this essentially outlines my voice and tone. And every once in a while, what I've been doing is I've been saying like, here's your original draft, and here's the new draft that I edited. Read the rules file, and then update the rules file based on the difference between these two things. So if we keep doing that, my hope is that eventually we'll get to something that is more like I am an editor, because right now it still feels like I've had to change a lot of things. So it goes on and on. And then in Netlify, within an agent runner, what's really cool about this is that you can set your own context. So what I say is when you're told to write a blog post from an audio transcript, use the blog post section rules that are found in this rules file, and then there's some extra information about how it creates topics and that sort of thing. So I can have Netlify agent runner specific context in this process. So here's what I want to do next. I want to I there are I think there are webhooks or some similar equivalent in voice notes. And so what I want to do is build that hook in so when I create that new note that we fire off some agent run automatically. And and maybe that can what I just need to do at the end of that voice note is like, okay, here are the blog posts that I want you to cover. So anyways, that's what I want to tinker with next. I haven't gotten there. What I wanted to share was that this was actually a post that I found from like 7 months ago about running my first half marathon, and I I didn't realize I hadn't published it, and it was in the state where I think it was Cursor at that time had given me a draft that was like, nah, this is slop. This is no good. And so then I asked Claude to read those rules and based on that outline, make an update. And it honestly, it did decent. Like this is always getting better. I think that's the important thing to note is like we're not there yet. We're certainly not there yet. And again, I think that's okay because I do want the written content that I put out to be in my voice. And so I don't want AI to do that on my behalf. I don't want it to get to 100%, right? And it shouldn't cover 100%. I should cover the first whatever 20 to 40, 50% through that voice note. And then I should also cover the last like 5 to 10%. And I want it's that first part that I feel like I don't want to change because that's where I do my thinking. It's the last part that I want to shrink. Because if I do the right thinking and I'm using my voice to record, that the transcript is already in my voice. And so if those agents if they get better at applying and if I get better at writing the rules, we apply the rules and the rules get more accurate to my voice, that we should get to a point where I'm like, oh, this is good. I'm just going to make a couple changes here and there because I was working on this earlier today. Here's my manual edits to this thing. So this is you can see I'm touching a lot. And this was a little bit of a different scenario, but I changed, I touched almost every line, almost every paragraph in some way in here. And I think that's going to be the norm for a while. What I'm really kind of digging into is that work slower than the old way. And so far, if you asked me this 9 months ago, I would say like, yes, absolutely. I'm going back to the old way of doing things. But I come back every couple of months and I'm at the point now where my answer is it's still clunky. It's still very clunky, but no, it is not faster to do it the old way anymore. And it still comes out being my voice. I have looked over every word and been like, yes, this is what I am trying to say here. This is what I am trying to say here. So anyways, that's I'm gonna stop there. I feel like we'll call this a successful test. This mic is on in at least 2 of the 3 outlets that I was aiming for. So I'll say this again. You can find me on X at Sean C. Davis 29. I am also on Blue Sky as SeanCDavis.com. And I checked that one a little bit less. I'm hoping to light a little bit of a fire under there. You can find me on Twitch as well. In fact, what's my, let me check on this other screen here. So I am Sean C. Davis on Twitch. So let's, whoops, are we over here? Twitch.tv/ is this gonna work? Might be live. Okay, so that's me here. And then YouTube, I am Sean C. Davis 29, which matches X. So a little bit, what I like to say is, in the places I got there first, I'm Sean C. Davis. In the places where I didn't, and there's some other imposter Sean C. Davis, I am generally Sean C. Davis 29. So that's that. Hit me up in any of these channels. And I, of course, will hit you all up as I keep these coming. For now, the goal is at least once a week for, I don't know, probably about an hour in most cases. Not going to be strictly structured on that. For me, it's probably going to end up being a little bit earlier in the day and be my Thursday mornings. I was thinking of this concept of like bagels and build or something. Got my bagel right here. Anyways, we'll see. We might change the time around a little bit. Just got to find something that works for my schedule, and happy to be influenced by folks that want to participate as well. But that's all for now. Thank you all for joining. For those of you who